Hello everyone, welcome back. So myself Shiva Shankari alias Shiva Ignatius. Welcome to Shriram IAS. We will start with a topic in environment. Okay. That is ecological succession. Okay. This is our topic. So after a long time, like we are meeting again. So we are going to discuss about this topic in an elaborate manner. We will do it. Then we will see like what are the questions which has appeared from this topic. So what and all we are going to see? We are going to see what is meant by ecological succession. Okay, will be defined. First we will see what it is. Then we will see the types of ecological succession. Okay. Then in these types there are some 4 types, but 2 are very important. So we will be discussing about the primary succession and secondary succession. Okay. Then we will be seeing the process of succession, how the succession goes on. Process of succession. Till this you will be finding it everywhere, you can get this ideas. Okay. Then comes a very important part under the ecological succession, that would be your analyzation part, reasonings. Okay. Analysis. You have to reason like why this is like, why desert is like a desert, why a forest it cannot be reached to a forest community. Like this way there will be, you will not understand now. So this we will be putting up in the last part, last section of our class will be this one. First we will begin with ecological succession. What is ecological succession? How can you define ecological succession? See, ecological succession means, from the name you can identify there is something called succession. That means what? Succeeding community. Okay, a community which is succeeded by another community in an ecosystem, that we call as ecological succession. So I am mentioning that community. Have you heard this word anywhere? Definitely you would have heard already in our classes. You can go back, you can find this word community there. Community, again I am explaining, I am giving brief definition for community. It is various groups of populations put together. I can say group of populations. What is again population? Or I can say group of different populations put together in an ecosystem is called a community. So if I say it is a group of different population put together in an ecosystem, ecosystem means, again if you are new to this class you should know ecosystem means what. It's something like where an organism is interacting with its environment. Okay, so that forms an ecosystem. It is a dynamic interacting system between the organism and its habitat, the place where it resides. This ecosystem we can differentiate into various form, like forest is one type of ecosystem, grassland is one type of ecosystem. Okay, it can be small to big, even the entire earth is an ecosystem. Okay, so from miniature to maximized we can say that ecosystem varies. Then come back here, I said it is a group of different population put together in a ecosystem is called a community. This community is replaced by another group of community or aggregated by another group of organisms. So that is called succession, ecological succession. Why? Because the ecosystem itself is dynamic in nature, it keeps on changes. Okay, once 1000 years before there were different group of organisms living in the same earth. but now there are different group of organisms. Okay. So, why? What is the reason? That is called ecological succession, where one group of community is replaced by, continuously it is keep on replacing by another group of community over time and space. Okay. So, as time goes by, different groups of communities will occupy that area. Sometimes it will replace the existing community, or it will act along with the existing community, aggregation, combine together and act. Okay. This is the definition for ecological succession. So, now we know what is ecological succession. Then we have to know the types of ecological succession. As I already mentioned for you, if I want to say the types of ecological succession, I am mentioning in a short form. You can see like this, types of ecological successions. I am splitting this into two important type along with another two. See, first I will start with this type only. Over the period when I am explaining, I will bring all the others inside. First one is primary succession. Primary succession, first type. Okay. Second, you can see that secondary succession. Then I can add autogenic succession and allogenic succession. These are four types. Okay. In this, first we will begin with the primary succession. What is primary succession? See that if there is a primitive substratum, if I want to explain primary substratum, primary succession for you, I can say like this, that in primary succession, okay, the succession, that is replacing of community, takes place from primitive substratum. Okay. That means primitive substratum, that means there will be no life form previously existing here. Okay. There would be no life form. It is very newly formed environment, such as I can say the newly cooled lava. Okay. You all know what is meant by lava, from volcanic eruptions you get. Then sometimes the glacier recedes back, leaving the rock surface get exposed to the environment. So, that newly cooled lava, then retrieval of glaciers, okay, bare rock, leaves bare rock, then newly formed pond, so all newly formed environment we will be considering as a primitive substratum. Here previously there will be no life forms, there are no life forms existing here. Everything has to start from basic core. Okay. So, this will always take place in a very slow pace, very slow. Hundreds and hundreds of years it will take to reach the final community. Okay. This is called primary succession. And here you will start with the pioneer community, okay, like this. This is called the pioneer community. What and all you have to learn, that only I am discussing here, the pioneer community, and the end will be the climax community. Okay. So, it will reach climax. Now, there are two new terms for you to study. Already I told, in environment sometimes directly they will be asking definitions also. You should be very clear in it. So, pioneer community and climax community. What are pioneer community? You should not think that pioneer community only comes in case of primary succession alone. No, even in case of secondary succession, there is some group of organisms or species which we consider as pioneer community. Pioneer means what? First. So, who appears first? And I already told the primary succession starts from primitive substratum, that is from base, bare area. Okay. So, now the area is very bare. For example, see this, in this I have taken an example of yes, okay. Just a minute. Yes, see, in this I have taken an example like a bare rock where the pioneer community first has to come appear in the bare rock, then comes the climax community, will be the final community. If it is a bare rock, what happens? There will be no vegetation at all, no soil first of all to support plants. So, who has to appear there first? First, you have to remember about the lichens. Okay. Yes, see this in the pioneer. The pioneer community can be a lichen. First of all, this only will appear. Along with that, mosses and ferns. Okay, already we have seen about all these plants. I hope you remember. So, these are the plants which we call as the one which appears on the substratum rather than on a soil. It can appear on other plants or it can appear on a substratum. Okay. So, we all know what is lichens. Lichens is a combination of fungi and algae. So, they help each other, mutually they will help one another in extracting or preparing the food. Okay. So, they will colonize the bare rock, as you can see here in the diagram itself. So, they are the one who are to colonize the bare rock, and then slowly they will weather, they will help other species to appear in the area, to colonize the area. Now, what you can say, the population, see this, the population of lichens, population of lichens, let us consider like this, population of mosses, both are appearing in the particular bare rock. These two form a community. Now, this is the pioneer community. Okay. These two are called as, or these three are called as pioneer community, which are occupying first or colonizing that rock. Okay. So, they are called as pioneer community. Slowly what they will do, they will weather the rock, bare rock, and form the soil. Soil is very important for the higher plants to grow, okay, to fix their roots. So, after that appears small bushes, grasses. Along with that, you will see in the figure itself, then it moves to scrubland, shrubs, you can see the woodlands, it is called scrubland. Okay. And then final, the climax community will be a forest. If it is a very high rainfall area or tropical type climate you have, then what will be the result? The result will be the tropical rainforest, that will be the climax community. Okay. And if it is a temperate type of climate, this is if it is a tropical type of climate. What is tropical type of climate? In geography you will study these things, high rainfall, high temperature. And if it is temperate type of climate, you will get mixture of forest, mix type of forest you will get. Okay. Deciduous forest will be there mostly, you will get those type of forest here, deciduous, moist deciduous, dry deciduous, okay, in between grasslands, these types of communities will be the climax community, right. So, now we know the term climax community. So, what is climax community? As you can go previously, I have defined about pioneer community, the one to occupy first in the particular ecosystem is the pioneer community. Climax one means, climax community means when succeeding communities, that is communities are succeeded one after another at over a period of time, they become stable or in equilibrium with the environment, okay, for a longer period of time. So, they are stable, so they do not get changed, they are called as climax community. They are called climax. In this case, in the diagram, you would have seen the forest is the climax community. If you start with the bare rock, what will be the result? Result will be the forest. Same way, you can see, I can give another example for you. Okay. So, you all know that NCERT is a very important source. This diagram is there, anytime sometimes question can appear from this, there is a possibility. So, let us see this example. Okay. How a newly formed pond, this is also an example of primary succession only, newly formed pond, it reaches to a climax community, how it reaches. So, in the first stage, what happens? The pioneer community in the pond will be phytoplanktons, okay. So, they are phytoplanktons. How a pond gets succeeded, that only we are going to see. This is newly formed pond. So, this has to be primary succession. So, I already told, if there is a primary succession, there will be a pioneer community, okay. So, here comes pioneer community, first to colonize the pond. Who is the first to colonize the pond? Who will be the pioneer community? Here I can say phytoplanktons, phytoplankton. What are phytoplanktons? They are producers of aquatic ecosystem. So, who and all can be a phytoplankton? Algae, blue green algae, diatoms, they can be the phytoplankton group. As you can clearly see here the diagram, see this is algae, this is an diatom, okay. There will be no differentiation at all, it looks like similar only. So, they are the first pioneer species to colonize a lake or pond, newly formed pond. So, this is the pioneer community. Then comes the next stage. As you can see, this is the next stage, here. Let us take here. So, this will be the second stage. The second stage, first stage is this, okay. The second stage, if you take, this will be the submerged rooted stage, submerged rooted stage, okay, where the plants, you can see both they will get submerged because the pond is full of water. Now, the first stage is your phytoplankton stage, where algae, diatoms, blue green algae will be there. So, now what happens? They will die, they will die, they will get decomposed. So, they will reach the soil, bottom of the pond as nutrients available for the plants to grow. Now, there is nutrients availability. So, what happened? Now comes rooted plants from the bottom. So, but they are submerged under the water. So, here you can see this plants like hydrophytes, we call them as hydrophytes, no. So, the plants like hydrilla, myrophyllums, okay. This is something called as the eel grass, in fish tank and all you will see. So, eel grasses, all these are some examples I am giving for you, where you can see the root is there in the soil and the plant will completely get submerged inside the water. So, this is submerged rooted plant stage, that is your second stage. And then the third stage, okay. So, here I have given some examples for you, hydrilla, myrophyllum, okay, these are some examples, eel grasses. Third stage is submerged free floating stage. That means both submerged plants and free floating plants you will find in this stage. So, here what happens, the water starts to reduce. As you can see here in the diagram itself, the water, see this is that stage, the water has reduced a bit. So, now there is ample of nutrients because the plants are growing, minerals and nutrients are present in the water. So, what happened? There are also submerged plants, there are also free floating plant in the pond. So, for this, see this type of plant, the submerged plant, you can see the Nelumbo. Nelumbo means nothing, it is lotus. You will see the roots are submerged underground in the pond and the plant comes out. It is submerged plant, sorry, it is rooted plant. And this is the group of duckweeds, you know, duckweeds, and duckweed, the world's smallest flowering plant, Wolffia. I hope in the duckweed family we have many species. One is Wolffia, the world's smallest flowering plant, and another is Lemna. Both are duckweed only. You can see in the figure itself. This is Wolffia, world's smallest flowering plant, and the Lemnas. This is also duckweed only plant. It is a plant, floating plant in the pond. So, this stage you will find these types of species. Then comes the next stage called as the fourth stage is reed swamp stage. Reed swamp stage. So, what happens here? The water again reduces drastically. See here. So, what happens? The parts of plant gets exposed to air. The parts of plants will get exposed to air. This way it will be. So, here amphibious type of plant will be found a lot. For example, you can see these types of plants like most of all the parts of the plant will be outside, but still it lives in water. No? So, these types of reed grasses and bulrushes, these and all you can see in the wetland. If you go and visit a wetland, you will see these types of grasses there. So, this is in the fourth stage, and then comes the next succession stage, that is marshy meadow stage, marshy meadow. This is next stage, marshy meadow stage. So, here again you can see the water completely gets dried out. Okay. So, when water is completely dried, the soil will be moist and damp. Soil is moist and damp, but water is completely dried. So, the bottom soil is exposed to air. Here occurs certain kind of vegetations. You can see like sedges. These are again like these types of grasses you would have seen somewhere when you are visiting. You would have seen these grasses. See this one, sedges. This is sedges. Okay, this is rushes. Where there is moisty soil, damp soil, they will grow there. So, sedges and rushes, these types of plants will grow. Then comes the next stage, that is scrubland or woodland. The same in the bare rock we have seen, no? Same way, here comes another stage, that is scrubland stage or woodland stage, where there will be grasses and then and there will be trees, interspersedly located trees you will find. That is woodland stage. So, that only I have mentioned. See, along with those bushes, like these types of plants will be there, sedges, rushes will be there. Along with that, these types of trees, alders, willows, okay, these types of trees also you will find in between. And then the final stage is called the climax community. This is climax community, and in this case we are considering the tropical rainforest as the climax community, from woodland to forest, but it takes hundreds and hundreds of years to reach that stage. As you can see, this is a tropical rainforest, moist and dampy forest with a variety of organisms, variety of species within them. So, this is the climax community which is reached. Do you understand? Now, when a bare rock is approaching towards a climax community, there occurs a forest. Same way, when a pond is step by step moving to next stage and succession takes place, the climax community will be a forest. Then what happens to desert? Automatically there will be a question. See, desert will be a desert. Desert, initially they have a microorganisms here, group of microorganisms you can see, okay, and then this the first stage. It will be mostly bacteria which are present there in the desert environment. They slowly progress to the next stage, where you will find the perennial grasses, okay, perennial grasses, like this, which appears here in the desert environment. And then introductory trees in the next stage, introductory trees. Then comes the final stage with the huge trees. It does not mean that trees will be everywhere, because you all would have visited desert in your life at least once. So, the trees will be then, and their cactus, big cactus will be there, and it is interspersed here and there. Okay. So, these you will find in the desert. This way the succession takes place, and desert will remain as a desert only. You will see the reasons for that, why a desert is always a desert, why it is not moving from a bare rock to a climax community that is a forest, why it is not happening. This way we will be studying at the last. So, now we will get back to the board. So, as I said, this is example for primary succession. All which I have shown a pond you take, or a desert you take, okay, and bare rock you take, all these are examples for primary succession. Now, you have to know the secondary, what is meant by secondary succession. So, we have seen the primary succession. So, now we can go to the secondary succession. See, this primary succession, there is no time period at all. It takes lot of time to succeed from one stage to another stage and reach the climax community in the primary succession. Like this, it takes hundreds of years. You can see in this diagram. Okay, it takes hundreds of years. We have not mentioned the time period at all. Sometimes even thousands of years it takes. But you come to a secondary succession. How a secondary succession will take place? So, see, now a succession is taking place and a climax community is reached. Let us consider like that. Now, we are in the final part, in a climax community. Now, the climax community is a forest. So, we will consider from there. The forest has come. Now, what happens? Suddenly, due to some reasons, due to some external factors, there is a fire. The forest is burnt. So, once the forest is burnt, what happens? Completely it is burnt out, and now it has to restart again. That is called secondary succession. It has to start again from the initial phase, but here the difference is that you have to know one thing. In the secondary succession, okay, in the secondary succession, the succession starts from already established substratum. There is a base, okay, substratum, already established substratum. One second, it is comparatively faster. Comparing to the primary succession, secondary succession is faster. Okay. So, the reason is this only, because here the fire has destroyed, but still the seeds of plants, grasses will be there, and what happens after some period they starts to germinate, and again the pioneer species here in the secondary succession also we have pioneer species, okay, I told you, and climax community will be there. So, the pioneer species here and the climax community. Okay, the pioneer species need not be lichens only, as we saw in the newly formed rock or a pond we had only phytoplanktons, or here lichens, there are algae, like that we had pioneer species only can be them, but here only lichens need not be a pioneer community. Along with lichens you can also find some grasses, okay, grass which remains there, even it is burnt out, it will come out fastly. So, they are pioneer community who colonize that area, who colonize the burnt out forest. So, here comes the pioneer species. Pioneer species can be even the lichens, mosses, and along with them some grasses, bushes, they will come out. Then slowly this will move to woodland stage and then forest again. Okay, then to climax community, that is forest. This is secondary succession. So, this is faster comparative to the primary succession, which was going in a very slower pace. So, we said when a climax community is disturbed or when an intermediate community is disturbed due to some reason, it will completely get devastated, destroyed, again it will restart, that is called secondary succession. No. So, either the climax community has to be destroyed or the intermediate stage, either sometimes in the woodland some accident might have happened and there everything would have burnt out, again it will start the succession. This is called secondary succession. So, this secondary succession, what are those external factors which disturbs a succession? Okay, what are the external factors? For that, we will take a separate slide and write, see some factors which interrupt the successions, disturbs the succession. It can be a topographic factor. Topographic. What are topographic factors? Like the soil erosion, I can say, that is related to soil and soil properties, soil erosions, landslide, etc. These are topographic factor. Second, it can be due to climatic factor. Climatic. So, what are climatic factors? Like droughts, flood, famine, okay. Then even you can also say fire, etc. It goes on. So, these are some of the climatic factors. Okay. Third, due to anthropogenic activity. So, succession can be disturbed due to humans activity or anthropogenic activity. What are anthropogenic activity? Like overgrazing, okay, overgrazing, deforestation, then agriculture related activities like this slash and burn agriculture and all is there, no? So, it goes on, anthropogenic activity. Finally, you can also add epidemics. Diseases, spread of diseases can be one factor. Okay. So, these are some of the factors which disturbs or interferes a succession. Either the climax community will get affected or the intermediate community will get affected because of all these things, and then what happens? Again the succession starts. That is secondary succession. Secondary succession occurs in that manner only. You now come to the initial stages. I told in the types there are 4 types. Do you remember? Primary, secondary succession, then autogenic and allogenic succession. See, autogenic succession means the community itself will, due to their interaction with the environment, they will create disturbances in the established community. For example, when I am talking about interaction, do you remember? I would have discussed about competition as a term, where different group of organisms are organism of same species, group of same species or group of different species will fight for the resources like space, food. I told you like that. Do you remember this? In my interaction video you can find this, and there I also gave an example of grizzly bear. Many grizzly bears will fight for one fishing spot, so that is competition. So, because of this, what happens? All the different group of species will get vanished from that area because of competition. So, this is called autogenic succession. An example is competition. Autogenic succession, where due to the community itself, the succession gets stalled or the succession is completely destroyed and it restarts again. What is allogenic? Due to the external factors. if it occurs due to some external factors like climate, fire, drought, famine, all we said no, the external factors, due to that some disturbances occur, then that is called as allogenic succession. So, they can be a part of secondary succession also, that is why I told I will bring this inside this. Okay. So, now I think you are clear about all the types of succession and the examples for succession also we have given. These are some of the factors which are disturbing the succession rate. Okay. And now we have to know the process of succession, how succession takes place. It is a small topic, process of succession. Then we will go to the reasoning part of succession. Process of succession takes place like this. The first is nudation. This is process of succession. Okay. So far they have not asked from process of succession, but however a succession will take place combining both the primary and secondary, we have put up in the name of process of succession. The first is called nudation. In the nudation, the bare area which is devoid of any life form is called nudation. It is a bare area, newly formed area, okay, where there is no life form at all, that is nudation. Second is, second stage, it goes like this, okay, like this it will go. Second stage we call as the migration. So, what happens if this is a bare rock? Let me consider like this is a rock, okay. It is very horrible, but please consider this as a rock only. And here what happens, nearby communities, there will be some grasslands, there will be some forest and all. So, the species from the nearby community will move here as a propagules, you know, like a plant or seed. The seed will move from here to the next in the bare rock area. So, here this is called migration. So, movement of the plants from the nearby community. So, then occurs, no, before that we will see eesis, okay. What is this? Eesis means here the community which has entered inside this bare rock will get established there in the process of succession. So, they get established here. What establishment means? What? The seed will germinate, it will grow, it will produce seeds or fruits or plants, anything, okay. So, it established itself there. Then occurs the next stage, that is competition. So, now different group of organisms are present. So, there will be competition and co-action among themselves. So, they will compete with one another for food, resources and all, etc. Okay. So, that is competition and co-action. This also we have explained, no. Then invasion. During this period also, some different alien species from different community would have come and invaded this space here, this space, okay, the barren rock space I told you, no. So, they would have come and invaded. So, that is called invasion. Then comes the next, that is the reaction. So, now there is more or less different group of organisms or community present in this bare rock area, and now they will react with one another and with the environment, that is reaction. So, the interactions between them and the ecosystem happens and it changes the ecosystem itself. Then comes the last, that is climax community, stabilization. There will be some equilibrium established in the process of succession, and there comes a climax community. So, it starts from nudation to stabilization or climax community is reached. This is called process of succession. Now comes different questions. As we have seen everything now related to succession, you need not study more than this much is more than enough. So, you have seen the types of succession, what is succession, what are the external factors which are disturbing a succession taking place in an ecosystem. Now, there are some questions like this. Why grasslands? You can find grassland now whenever you are going for some tours, some places you are visiting. They will take you to some meadows, grasslands. So, you would wonder why the grassland for even hundreds of years it is remaining as grassland only. What is the reason? Because we studied in succession that when a succession is happening, grassland has to then become a woodland, woodland has to become a forest. The climax community has to be reached. Why there is no climax community? Why we have only grasses here? Savanna, African savannas, why grassland? Why it is not becoming a forest? That is a question. So, you have to analyze under the succession in this way only. So, for example, I will do three types of analyzation for you, rest you are going to do. Okay. In the classes, in the foundation classes, we will be studying the rest related to every analyzation, reasoning from various angles we will study. Why this grassland is grassland only? For that, see, grassland, why it is remaining as grassland itself? The reasons are, first, there is no adequate rainfall, okay, to support huge trees. So, a grassland cannot move to be a forest, there cannot be succession because no adequate rainfall in that particular due to the climatic factors, one. Second, soil is not depth, no deep soil is present, soil profile is very shallow, plus soil is less in nutrients, okay, two reasons. Again, see this, there is a cascading effect, like a feedback effect. We said no adequate rainfall. So, what happens? This will trigger droughts and fire. Okay, if there is a grassland, definitely you watch and see, there will be fire, frequent fires will happen, droughts, the area is very dry. So, this leads to droughts and fire. And what happens? Because of this, frequent fires will happen, fire will burn out everything, and when everything is burnt out, there are certain grasses which will re-emerge immediately after some time from the place where they are burnt. The root is still there inside the soil, they will regrow again, re-emerge again very easily, very quickly comparative to the trees. That is why whenever a grassland is affected by droughts or fire, it will again be a grassland only. Okay. And very important factor with related to, especially you take Indian grasslands, Indian grassland, that plagioclimax, it is plagioclimax. What is this called as plagioclimax? That means the most of the grasslands in India are plagioclimax, that is human induced. Plagioclimax means what? Human induced arrested induced stage, human induced stage of arrested succession. Succession will get arrested there, it will not proceed. As we all know that if there is a grassland, that normally it has to turn to a woodland into a forest. But what happened? The succession is arrested here as a grassland itself because of man's activity, because of humans. How human can arrest a grassland in that stage only? Due to his activities like grazing the cattle, making it as a pasture land, grazing the cattle, okay, or burning the grassland for farming activities, or cutting down small trees which are in between the grasses, deforestation. So, it is maintained as a grassland. Small, if trees comes out then and there, you know what they do, they cut down the trees there. See, for example, you might wonder how cutting down one tree inside a grassland can make it as a grassland. There is a different important term you also should know in this succession called as keystone species. Keystone species. What is called keystone species? Any organism can be a keystone species. Starting from fungi, to bacteria, fungi, to huge gigantic trees or animal, okay, can be a keystone species. They can be a keystone species, but who we are calling as keystone species? The species which defines that ecosystem, which defines that ecosystem. Without that species, the ecosystem will not exist at all. For example, you take Africa, savanna grassland, savanna, Africa savanna, everybody know that, savanna, Africa savanna. Here the keystone species is African elephant, is the keystone species. Not because it is gigantic, I already told, even a small fungi can be a keystone species. Why he is a keystone species? Because in the African savanna, you can find small trees, around 1 meter tall the trees will grow, acacia trees and all. The African elephant will simply knock it down, eat it, break it and eat it. So, the trees will not grow, and grassland is maintained as a grassland. So, they are very important to maintain the community, to maintain the ecosystem. So, they are called as keystone species. Same way here you can see. So, don't think that man is a keystone species here. Okay, I am not coming to say in that manner, but man is disturbing or arresting the succession. Okay, so he is either cutting down the trees or burning the grassland, and continuously it is for farming he is burning it, and again grasses only will reappear. So, that is why most of the grasslands in India are plagioclimax, that is human induced stage of arrested succession or overgrazing, using the cattle and grazing the grassland. So, these are some of the reasons that we can know why grasslands are remaining as a grassland itself. Then the next question is, suppose okay, we are saying a tropical rainforest, which is highly rich in diversity. This tropical rainforest, if it is removed, if it is destroyed, okay, suppose some accidental forest fire has happened, then it is burnt out. It takes lot of times, lot of years to regenerate, very hard, it is very hard to regenerate it, and even if it does, it takes lot of years to come back. What is the reason? Why it is so? Grassland, quickly it is coming as a grassland. Why a forest is not coming like a forest immediately? So, you have to explore the reason. See, these are some of the reasons for that. You take a tropical rainforest, okay. Here first the soil, we will start with the rainfall, huge rainfall, abundant, so in that area only you will find rainforest, huge rainfall. Second, soil is rich in humus. So, what is humus? Dead matter, okay, dead leaves from the forest will fall down on the floor. So, there will be lot of microorganisms, the soil is rich in microorganisms which will decompose the humus matter, okay, the humus in the soil. So, like this they act together, they will act, they will decompose the humus, then they will supply the nutrients to the soil. Soil is rich in nutrients, okay. These are some of the character of equatorial forest. So, now what happened when the forest is burnt? There is nothing above, no roof at all, only soil is remaining. Now, huge rainfall, rich in nutrient, what happened? The rainfall will wash away all the nutrients from the soil along with the microorganisms. The microorganisms has nothing to eat, to decompose, they also die because of rainfall plus sunlight, intense sunlight, okay. One side this is going on. Second, the seeds you take, seeds of the trees, of rainforest trees, they do not have special adaptation, they cannot lay dormant for many years, okay. They will not lay dormant because there is no need at all to lay dormant. So, they do not have that adaptation. What happens? They get destroyed in the fire. How they will come up out as a tree? And third factor, you see the species, animals, most of all they are arboreal in character. If you see in the rainforest, you can see arboreal animals. They are helping in pollination, in seed dispersal. Okay, in seed dispersal they are helpful. So now there is no tree, there is no fruit. Where these animals will go and eat the fruit and drop the seeds. So the absence of animals, all factors combined together, and it's very hard to regenerate rainforest again. Okay. So but anyhow it takes a lot of time. Okay. So the droppings from the nearby forest has to reach this place, and then it again slowly re-emerges. Along with this encroachment by grasses. When it is burnt out, suddenly grasses will appear instead of trees. Encroachment by grasses and small shrubs completely will stop it to become a rainforest. Okay. So all these are some of the factors which makes a rainforest hard to regenerate again. Okay, we cannot bring back a rainforest easily. Then see, this will be the third exploration which we can do. Why a desert is a desert? That is the next question. Why a desert is remaining as a desert itself? Desert also would have started as a rocky area. Why this rocky area has not succeeded to be a forest, as you said? Rock, bare rock, then lichens will come, then mosses, ferns and small shrubs and plants, then trees, then forest. We told like that, we studied like that, why it is not becoming a forest, why it is remaining as a desert only. So for that, see, you have to know the reasons, like why a desert is a desert. First thing is insufficient rainfall, very less precipitation, no, sufficient rainfall, very less precipitation, or sometimes no precipitation at all, some places and all very less, combined with little moisture, little or no moisture in the air. So what happens? Big trees cannot be supported. The normal trees which you find in the forest will not grow here in these places. Okay. Only those plants which get adapted to that environment, which have special adaptation to live in the forest, only will survive in this area. That is why when I am showing a desert, I showed you desert, there is a succession taking place. Inside the desert itself will succession takes place, and the figure you saw already like this. I told primitively it will be a rocky area, then slowly what happens, it bushes, some grasses will grow, some small bushes will grow, some trees will grow, but not it will be dense. So if it is a dense, it will become a forest. So why? What is the reason? The reason is this only. The reason is because there is insufficient rainfall to support the vegetation, a little or no moisture to support the plants. Okay, they need special adaptation. And then comes soils. Soils are mainly arid soils, that is they are sandy soil, okay, with a lot of salts, calcium carbonate, like those salts will be present, but less in nutrients and less in microorganisms mostly. But in some places in the desert also you will find microorganisms, especially like bacteria are large in number. Even you will find lichens also then and there, mosses you will find. But what happens? These, even if the soil, if it has soil microbiome, even if it is there, it will not succeed to be a forest. What is the reason? The reason is rainfall only. There is no adequate rainfall to support to become a forest. So these are some of the reasons that desert is remaining as a desert itself, not as a forest. Got it? So these are some of the reasons which you have to explore while you are studying a topic like this. Now you come to the previous year questions. See, we have done all these definitions under the topic, and we have analyzed the topic also. Okay. See, this is the previous year question. This way question has appeared. The vegetation of savanna consists of this. In 2021 you got this question. The vegetation of savanna consists of grassland with scattered small trees. The forest development in such areas is generally kept in check. That means they are saying that there is no forest. The grassland is not getting converted to forest, is kept in check, okay, by one or more of a factors, conditions. So, they are asking what are those conditions, okay. So, what are those conditions? See, they have given burrowing animals and termites as one option, number 1. How a burrowing animal and termite will stop a grassland to become a forest? Totally illogical. Fire, yes, I told in grassland fire is a very important factor. Grazing herbivores, yes, overgrazing, we studied this as a factor, overgrazing. Seasonal rainfall, yes, there is no adequate rainfall to support vegetation, so this is right. But soil properties does not decide that whether it has to be a grassland or whether it has to be a forest. Why? It is a secondary component only. That because of rainfall, because of less rainfall or fire, soil properties get changed, but soil property will not arrest the succession. So, again this is not a factor. So, here there will be 2, 3 and 4 will be the right answer. So, this will be the right answer, okay. And see, this is 2021 question, yes. And see, in 2013 there is a question like this: in the grasslands, trees do not replace the grasses, okay, as a part of an ecological succession because of, what are the reasons they are asking? Huh? So, they have given reasons like insects and fungi, that is the reason that grassland is maintained as a grassland. So, limited sunlight and paucity of nutrients, this is also not right, okay, totally wrong. And water limits and fire, definitely this would be the answer, none of the above cannot be, because there is limitation of rainfall and fire, okay, which is happening in the grassland. Same way you can see here, in 2011 there was a question: if a tropical rainforest is removed, it does not regenerate quickly as compared to tropical deciduous forest. Why? Because the soil, you can see the soil of rainforest is deficient in nutrients, okay. See the second option, the propagule of the tree in a rainforest have poor viability. Propagules means plant which is attaching to the mother plant, they will not move, that is not a reason at all. The rainforest species are slow growing, again no. Exotic species will invade the fertile soil of rainforest. How it will come and invade? When everything is burnt out. So, the reason is soil of rainforest is deficient in nutrients. I told you how. When there is no plant and when the rainfall comes, it will leach away all the nutrients from the soil, okay. This is the right answer. And finally, you can see this is the last question which came in 2008. Within every time there is a repetition also, okay, the question gets repeated. Within biological community, some species are important in determining the ability of a large number of other species to persist. They are important in determining the ability of large number of other species to persist in the community. Such species are called what? Then you should know that is keystone species. Such species are called as keystone species, okay. So, this way you have to and these are some other things like allopatric species, sympatric species. Allopatric species means some geographical locations separating the same species. So, they are living in one area and they are found in another area, but they evolve into another different kind of species, like some birds, owls separated by some geographical location, that is allopatric species. Sympatric species means they are in the same area only, but from the ancestors the successor will be totally different, they evolve into a different species. For example, anole you can take, lizard, same tree lizard and ground lizard will be in the same place only, but both looks different, okay. This you know, threatened species, but keystone species is the definition they have asked. So, like this you have to study the ecological succession. With this we can end this topic here. So, again we will meet in some other topic. Thank you.